Dr. Mustafa Yusuf Ali is the co-founder of the Horn Institute, also the chair, Horn Institute of Strategic Studies and director of Arigato International Nairobi. He's also the author of this book, The Globalization of Terrorism, from Sicari's Assassins to ISIS. Very, very interesting book, definitely, from Sicari's when you talk about the historical perspective and all that. But thank you so much for making time for us.
Thank you, sir.
This evening, Dr. Ali. I'll start very briefly. You have a lot of experience in terms of counterterrorism, but this stepping up of identification system by the government, a national database, every Kenyan now has to go through it, more personal information, including DNA profiles, GPS locations of places of residence. How important is this? And of course, how widely is it used in the world? Plus, vis-a-vis those who say there's a breach of privacy.
Yeah, well, saying maintaining a national DNA database is critically important in the fight against crime. More crime actually than terrorist crime in nature. Now, when you have a national database for DNA, particularly for those who actually have committed crimes, and that is useful for the investigators, and it's a powerful tool to match when you're matching the DNA collected at the scene of crime and the national data bank or the database. That quickly nails the culprits and suspected criminals, and it can actually save a lot of money and time in the investigation process because it is immediate. Now, in that sense, it is very useful. When you look at how other countries have actually mobilized and implemented this kind of a strategy. United Kingdom, for example, they have, it started in 1995. By 2015, they had collected DNA samples for 6.1 million people. Now, in UK, and that is the most advanced system that they have around the world in terms of the DNA database, you find that they only take DNA samples of those who have committed recordable crimes. And recordable crimes could be anything from begging, driving under the influence, and all that. And they actually store that DNA in the data bank for those who have been convicted. Those who are not convicted, they actually delete the data after a while.
So it's very important.
It is
more than important. People should be concerned about their privacy and all that.
That's right. That's right.
In your work thus far, I mean, since Kenya began and started this war against terrorism, there's been a lull and praises for security officers, of course, including the latest response at the Dusit complex. But the impact, of course, of what happened last week still raises questions and fears. What would you say are our successes so far? Yeah, first, and our failures, of course. Yeah,
first of all, very important. If you look at the way the security agencies responded to that particular Dusit attack, it tells you that there's a lot of there was a lot of coordination, information sharing. They used overwhelming force. They were very swift. Within minutes, actually, they were able to pin the terrorist in one corner of the hotel complex. As now 700 Kenyans were being taken out and evacuated. This was only possible after learning the debacle of Westgate way back in 2013. It doesn't mean that we are off the hooks. No, there are quite a number of improvements that the security agencies keep on learning and improving. What we need to do, Hussein, and this is where the problem is, the challenge is, there seems to be a lull in terms of the countering violent extremism, the recruitment, radicalization, that process. We need to retarget, reinvigorate the kind of ideological pushback programs that we started way back in 2015, very active in 2016. 2017 and 18, we seem to have kind of lowered our guard in terms of ideological pushback. Now, there are various ways that you can
because, I mean, Kenyans were talking, and when people saw this video of the suicide bomber,
that's right,
and people would actually ask what was going through that person's mind. And what exactly do you achieve by doing such a thing? And this is why you're talking about the battle for ideology. So how do you do it?
Yeah, well, first of all, terrorism is 90% in the mind. Terrorists target the mind. And so that is where we need to fight that war. Part of the ideological pushback engagements, and without getting too technical, information asymmetries clawback that Kenya has actually been implementing some of these programs since 2015 has yielded a significant, or has yielded fruits. Now, if I talk about ideological pushback, there are various ways to do that. Digital disruptions, and digital disruption is both the technical aspect, take down of terrorist websites, Twitter accounts, Facebook, and also developing counter messages that then you will release in the digital world. Now that forms the digital disruptions. What other countries have done and we are not doing? There's something called extreme dialogue. Extreme dialogue is when you actually use former combatants or former terrorists or violent extremists to come and speak to the young people who sympathize with terrorists. We've done a little bit of that here in Kenya. We actually brought in at some point somebody called Osama from the United Kingdom who's working with the Williams Foundation. He actually was recruiting for terrorists and violent extremists in the Bosnia War. And he came here and talked to the young people. We need to do more of that, because then these are the people that these young people that sympathize with terrorism would listen to, because they've been there. He was in Tora Bora in Afghanistan. He was in Bosnia fighting there. When they listen to him, and he will tell them, as he often does, that there is no jihad in such places, then these people will be disincentivized. Well, we have gotten them into the country. What we need to do is to get them here more often. And there are Kenyans who have actually, you know, lived their terror ways or violent extremist way. We need to get those people to speak to the young people that sympathize with terrorism. Now, this kind of extreme dialogue is something that we need to do. We need to find ways how we can get these people that have been engaged in terrorism, have reform, and those who have been proven to have been de-radicalized and reform can speak to these young people. You can see the age bracket of these young people. They don't understand what's going on in Somalia. They think they're going for jihad, but it's not.
Right, that is a very interesting concept you're talking about. I mean, somebody would ask, do you punish such a person, or do you give them a chance to talk to those who could be sympathizing with terrorism?
Well, there are those who clearly should be punished, and a number of them are in jail. There are those who are not in jail, like the example that I've given you. This is a person who is actually advising the government of the United Kingdom in London. He comes here fairly often. He was actually born here in Pangani, but he's a British citizen. He comes here from time to time. We need to scale up this kind of efforts. So this is just one of the ways of doing it. The ideological pushback actions are so many.
But that is where you think we need to put
we
more
need
effort.
to do that. There's the doctrine revision. Many of these young people, you know, it's in their minds they think that there is jihad in the way of fighting, joining Al-Shabaab, coming to kill Kenyans. Now they need to revise their doctrines. Those who sympathize with groups like Al-Shabaab, ISIS, Boko Haram, there are programs that have been implemented in Egypt. It's called Al-Murajat Al-Fikriya, doctrine revision in English. Widely successful. We need to study these programs and find ways to implement in this country.
All right. Dr. Mustafa Yusuf Ali, again, is the co-founder of the Horn Institute of Strategic Studies, director of Radicalisation International, also told you is the author of this book, Globalization of Terrorism, from Sicari's Assassins to ISIS. Thank you so much for making time
Thank you, Hussein.
For us tonight.
Thank you.